right. Well, I think in an interest of everyone's time, Tammy, are you good if we start?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. It's great to see some familiar faces and some faces I haven't quite met yet. But I'll start off, and my name is Rosie Canyon. I'm the program and volunteer coordinator here at Grow. And today we are lucky enough to have Tamara Jackson Gatewood from Huntington National Bank with us. And Tammy has fantastic information for us. And I know you can introduce yourself a little bit better, of course, than I can, but I know we just want this to be an interactive session full of conversation, full of questions. So if at any point, and I'll try to break us and take a few pauses to make sure we're asking questions. But if any point something comes up, you have questions, feel free to just unmute yourself and interject, or I'll also be monitoring the chat box. So feel free, if that's easier for you, to just type in a message there. I'll be monitoring that as well. So thank you. Thank you, Tammy, for being here and everyone else that's joined us this afternoon. I think we have a great session ahead.
I think we do. And good afternoon to everybody on the call. Again, my name is Tamara or Tammy, and I'm just thrilled. I mean, it's always good to talk small business because it's one of my favorite things. So I enjoy conversations on the subject a great deal. I think I'm one of the firm believers out there that understand and appreciate the impact that small business makes in local economies. Um, the way I see it, when you own a small business, you're able to work in a community. And if you have employees, it's quite likely that your employees are products of that surrounding community. So, by way of your idea or addressing a need, creating your business, you're able to directly impact lives. So, that's how I see it. And if people are working in an area, they're drawing people to that area or community to visit, to purchase items, to play in the area or community. And from there, they'll enjoy the area so much until they'll want to consider spending more time potentially living in that area. So you see how that kind of works. It's a setup to where small businesses doing an exceptional job of keeping dollars in motion in various communities, and that is a good thing, and it's healthy for the economy. So kudos to those of you on the call this afternoon that are budding startups or seasoned business owners. You're doing an amazing job, and I hope you're finding how rewarding this journey can be for you. So, in my line of work, there tend to be some common themes that come up with regard to business financials. And I thought it might be valuable to tailor our conversation this afternoon around some common questions that I hear from business owners. So I think Rosie said that the chat feature is up and running. So as there are questions, just feel free to just pop them in the chat and we can dig into those too. It's always fun to learn from one another. And so just feel free to just share your experiences because I do believe that this is a safe space and the goal is just to get better, right? All right. Okay. So let's click over to the next slide. Um, One high level question that is frequently asked is what are some common mistakes for beginners? And I've placed on this slide some areas that tend to come up quite often as business owners are navigating through the initial steps of organizing. So, what I've got listed here, the first one is not separating personal accounts from business accounts. And this by far is one of the areas that gets missed. I think it might be due to perhaps a more relaxed entry into business ownership. Um, so, for example, a person may provide some consulting services for someone, and that person may pay them with cash. They may Cash App them, Venmo, or whatever the things are these days. And then from there, that customer will then refer the consultant to a friend. And before you know it, the business owner has a nice little gig going and they're getting paid for it, which is wonderful. But each time that business owner is getting paid, they're making a sale. You know, you're receiving business income for that. And that should be tracked in a separate business account. And each time that business owner purchases supplies, items to assist with their consulting, they are creating a business expense. And that should be tracked appropriately as well. So once you've completed some self discovery and you've determined that you're going to go forward and start up a business, opening a separate business checking account should be top priority. And if you don't mind, I'm just curious to see if any of our budding or seasoned business owners, if we do have separate business accounts from checking accounts. I see some nods. Okay, perfect. God bless you. All right. So here's another one. Um, the lack of an operating agreement, partnership agreement, incorporating articles, so on, so forth, so forth. And again, I think this area gets missed again from a lackadaisical standpoint, or just for a couple reasons. In the process of organizing a business, we have to register our name with the state. Okay, and then register for various business licenses. And that just depends on the industry that we're in, what specialty we're in, and then what our location is. All right. Now, in addition to this, we should also be spelling out how the business functions, as well as how financial decisions should be made in the business, rules, regulations, and provisions. Because the registrations that you do with the state and the localities, they don't address that. It's just a part of the organizing process. Okay. Agreements aren't required, but if you're going into business with more than one person, it is important that you have documentation kind of spelling out how the business will operate and function. And I'll just kind of pause there just to add just an example, if you don't mind. If you're going to be getting into business for yourself, does that mean that that's how it always has to be? Would you be willing to entertain a partner? And if you have a partner already, would you ever be in a position to entertain yet another one? And for that matter, if a partner wants out, how do they get out? What's the step and what's the process behind that? So the operating agreement or your articles of incorporation, it's based on your structure. It's really going to be the tool that will be most resourceful for you, because it's going to spell out exactly how that business needs to behave. All right. Anybody have any questions on that one? That tends to be one that probably have to build some more context into. We good? Okay. The third area that I wanted to make sure that I just spent a sentence or two or a minute just talking about is not creating the overall business structure with intention. So what you want to do is work with a specialist, a counselor, or perhaps even an accountant or an attorney, just to give you some clarity on what each of the business structures, whether it's a sole proprietor, an LLC, a partnership, a corporation, they all provide their different benefits. And you'll want to see what they offer in terms of ease, benefits, and protections. And you want to let that guide you in your decision making with regard to how you're going to set up. Sometimes business owners set up businesses just kind of based on how pretty it sounds, and I get it, that's exciting, but you'll want to make sure that that the structure lines up with what your thoughts were. Okay. Now here's a big one: lack of a business plan. All right, so let me just pause right there and stop. So a business plan, business owners, that's your story to tell. Okay, that's your DNA, and you'll want to inject your DNA into your plan. You'll want to share your business plan or your story with potential lenders, investors, families, friends, whomever wants to read it. It's your living idea, and it brings clarity to the reader. And it also motivates people, banks, stakeholders to support your business. All right. Most business plans, they'll project outward 3 years, and it can take some time to create. But it really is a crucial piece of the process. And I think what may happen here is when we're spending time on our business plan, because it might feel a bit overwhelming, not quite sure what to put in it, not quite sure how to structure it out, not sure about which category needs to be included and in what area. You'll want to make sure that it's something that you utilize some resources on. Grow is an excellent resource for business planning. At the same time, you'll want to make sure that it's you that's injecting your DNA into it as well, because I can't overemphasize enough that it's your story to tell. And no one is going to be your biggest cheerleader more than you are. And I know that I've sat with business owners and they tell me a phenomenal story, and I'm almost jumping out of my chair because it's so great. And then if they're ready to make loan application or go through some financing, I'm submitting all this information, and I'm certainly a cheerleader, but the business plan that gets submitted along with that allows the person that's reading it to truly believe what it is that you have to say, and the product that you're trying to deliver, and then they'll have a better understanding on how you're going to make the business work. Okay. All right. Finally, I don't want anyone to feel compelled to go it alone. And I briefly mentioned that, in the last bullet there. You'll want to involve specialists that have experience with small business organization and formation, and you want to bring them in the fold and make them a part of your process. Okay. This helps to check all the boxes on your list of building your business foundation. All right, next slide. So another question that gets asked is, how should your financial management change as the business grows? And I really appreciate the intuition behind this question. Um, the first thing that you'll want to do is, it's just really important for you to get really good with the basics. And I'm going to spend some time on the left-hand side of this screen talking about the basics, because they tend to get overlooked because it's not really glamorous work. Okay. But it is important. The first thing is, you'll want to make sure that you are creating a budget. The budget is the first place to start with financial management practice. It's a list of all of your monthly or yearly expenses organized by categories. It's a tool that will help you track all of your business expenses, plan for the future, be economical when you need to be. It'll help you plan to expand, and it'll help you make a profit as well. When you create a budget, you'll want to use it to compare what you've budgeted with your actual expenditures. Okay, so very similar to what you do on the personal side, but you want to make sure that you don't miss that step on the business side. Now, I wrote here, bookkeeping is still a thing, because I think bookkeeping is like a throwback, but registers get a bad rap these days. But you know what? Bookkeeping is still a thing because it's organized. And it's a process of tracking all your income and all expense transactions. All right. Bookkeeping is a critical component of financial management, and that leads to making better business decisions, whether it's regarding financing, taxes, taking an owner's draw, or even retiring from the business. So, from obtaining business accounting software, opening the separate business account that we touched on earlier, reconciling the checking account, tracking the sales, depositing all the sales, paying business expenses, running a profit and loss statement, and maybe, just maybe, hopefully paying yourself. These steps are key to understanding the ebbs and flow of your business finances. All right. Cash flow and understanding cash flow. So cash flow is simply moving cash in or out of a business. It's the balance of cash received less the amount of cash paid out over a period of time. And a cash flow projection is going to be a financial projection that tries to show how cash is expected to flow in and out of a business over a future period in time. All right. Cash flow projections are used to see if those projected cash receipts that you anticipate receiving will be sufficient enough to cover projected cash disbursements, money going out. A business can be profitable and it can still run out of cash, and that is totally a thing. So, this statement can help you manage your cash so that you can pay your bills on time. Okay. Now, finally, a profit and loss statement is the best tool for knowing if your business is profitable because a P&L is going to measure revenue and expenses over a month, a quarter, or a year. So when you run a P&L, you're going to know if you've made a profit, how much the profit is, or if you've incurred a loss. So it's a pretty important report because it reflects your business decisions on the basic buying and selling process in your business. It's going to tell you how well you're managing your business and provide information on how to grow. All right. So quite simply, you're going to take your sales and you're going to back out the cost of goods sold. All right. So how much it costs to sell the item. That's going to give you your gross profit. And from there, you're going to back out your overhead. And that there is your net profit. So that's essentially profit and loss. And based on the findings from those areas, you can start to get a feel for where the business is in terms of growth. Okay. Up next, you'll want to assess exactly where you are with the business. And I put a couple of bullets here. These are some tried and true areas that I've learned along the way. The back of the napkin exercise. So that's just a term, just to determine. So like when you all, or when someone is in the process of beginning their business and you've got things that are going on in your brain, like, you know what, I think I could produce something, or I think I have something to offer. A lot of times you're jotting down notes just to see is this business, is it a go? Can I really do this thing? Can I really make money doing this thing? And can I service a particular area? And is it sustainable? Is it something that can last over time? So you'll want to flesh that out. In terms of resource planning, business planning, we've heard that term before, and action planning, just some steps that you'll want to take so that you can get a better picture of if you can succeed with the small business right now and how long you want this to go. So map it out. And that's a great tool to assist you with determining if you're able to get moving with this, with your business now, and then B, how long it will continue for you. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so here's another good question. Tools that business owners can use to stay on track. So again, I really like to keep things really simple and just be really, really good at the basics. Online banking with your bank, that can be very resourceful because banks have put a lot of money towards making banking easier for people and for businesses. So they've really revved up their online banking capabilities, the mobile app, and just the ability to just use all of them pretty fluidly with your business. QuickBooks is another great tool because at the click of a button, you can obtain all of the reports that I mentioned on that last slide. So you don't have to do that. QuickBooks does it for you. The other thing that I'll add here too is that accountants, CPAs, banks, they're familiar with QuickBook reporting. So it's appealing to them. So it's easy for them to read and see. So that's something to consider too. Now, if you're a business that has a point of sale terminal or a POS terminal, you likely have access to apps that can assist with like tracking inventory, managing employees, and so on. And it's all in one place. And that can be very valuable in terms of convenience. So depending on what you're using to accept Visa and MasterCard, it might be on your phone, or it may be a handheld device, or you might even have one of those devices that kind of look like an iPad, and then it's got like a stand with it. So you can use it for more than accepting Visa and MasterCard. There's some different apps there. And I mean, you can track your sales, you can track your inventory, you can allow your employees to sign in. So you can use it as a time card too. And so what makes that appealing is that you're not having to use different things in different places. It's all just in one area. So I would encourage to keep things as easy as possible with that. All right, let's go to the next slide. So is your business ready for financing? When is that magic moment? Um, that's a pretty broad question, but I'll share a couple of insights on that. Um, so here's some options for financing your startup business. The first option is equity, and equity is just your money. So many businesses are started with saving from a day job or from the sale of an asset. That's how a lot of businesses get started. You can launch your business small, and then from there, reinvest the profits over time just to build it up. Okay. And that tends to be the way that a lot of business owners tend to start out, by putting some skin in the game themselves. Okay. When we talk about sweat equity, that's totally a thing, and that means doing it yourself. Owners of a startup business are often a jack of all trades, so they put in the hours to cover the many activities of the business rather than hire someone or purchasing equipment. So that can be financing as well. And then, of course, our families love us, and some business owners turn to families for an equity contribution. Now, financing is getting the money that you need to start, operate, or grow a business. And that can also mean borrowing money too. So, before borrowing money for your business, I've said this term before, and I'll just keep reiterating it. You'll want to develop a business plan to help determine whether your business can afford a loan, because that's really what it's boiling down to. Is if the business and the monies that come in from the business are enough to afford the payment that the business will be making each month. All right. If you need to borrow money, just take the time to comparison shop to figure out what the best loan option can be for you and for the business, because there are several options that are out there. Oftentimes, business owners may look at doing a fixed term loan, and that just means fixed monthly payments over a period of time. A lot of times that is because you're purchasing some type of collateral, and that would be like a property. It could be a piece of equipment. It could be a vehicle for the business. Those tend to be term loans because the repayments are over a period or over a period of time. Lines of credit are also available for business owners. It just gives you the ability to have access to funds as you need it. It's extremely flexible because with the line of credit, as you need to have funds, it's available to you without you having to ask the bank every single time something comes up. It's just open and available. As you need it, you use it. And then your repayments are extremely flexible too, because it's only going to be based on the balance that you've used. So that tends to be a pretty attractive financing product for businesses. As we go to the last slide, and we just kind of wrapping up our conversation here, there are some key points to remember that business owners can do from the beginning, just to make sure that they've got themselves set up for success. And this is just more of a review. So as we go to the next slide, number one is just to start financial management with a budget. Not to overlook the value of effective bookkeeping. Sound bookkeeping is the basis for all financial management. I will probably just give you just a personal story here, where, with COVID and everything that happened last year, the funds that our government made available to us, that the state made available to us by way of the government, uh, through whether it was Paycheck Protection Program loans, just different facilities to assist customers, to assist business owners. a lot of that required specific documentation, and depending on if you have those financials available, would that would actually um, make the difference in whether or not you could get approved or a delay, in having funds available just because the bookkeeping wasn't completed or wasn't done, and things had pretty much been done, out of a personal account or just very relaxed as opposed to really keeping separate bookkeeping for the business. So you don't want to overlook that. And I just can't stress how important that is. Cash flow projections are going to help you to see cash shortages, even when accrual accounting, like a bank statement, can mask those shortages. So run your cash flow statements. Profit and loss statements are really the best tool for knowing overall if the business is profitable. Financing is getting the money that you need in order to start, operate, or grow your business. And again, before borrowing money for your business, make sure you develop a business plan to help determine whether the business can afford it. Okay. And then finally, you want to make sure that you build a team of trusted advisors that are just invested in your success and they just want to see you grow. If for nothing else, it's great encouragement, it's great motivation that you need, and it's wonderful positive energy, and we can't get enough of that. So I'm going to pause for some questions, if that's okay.
Yep, that sounds great. Right now, there's nothing in the chat, but like we
Okay.
said earlier, feel free, folks, if there's something you just want to ask or just a comment. I think now would be a great time if you want to either unmute yourself or just type it in that chat box.
I have a question. So don't overlook the value of effective bookkeeping. Can you explain? You're saying we should really consider paying somebody to do it, or invest in training, or what do you mean by that point?
It doesn't you don't necessarily have to pay someone. You may want to consider some resources such as QuickBooks to do some of the reporting for you. So if we can go back a couple slides, I think that might have been slide number 3, maybe, where we talked a little bit about the different. Yeah, and this is okay. We can just land on this slide here. So effective bookkeeping has to do with ensuring that you know how healthy your business is financially. And that is just basically pulling a couple of reports. You've got your profit and loss report that's going to determine if the business is making money. And that's going to be a more comprehensive report than just what you're seeing in a business checking account, because it's going to show money coming in and going out at the times that it's going in. Another one is your cash flow, your statement of cash flow. All these things can be done by just clicking a button in QuickBooks. So I would probably recommend that you download the QuickBooks software. It can be other software as well, but the QuickBooks is going to be something that's going to be pretty fluid between banks, lenders, and accountants. And so the reports they're more appealing and easier to use.
I have a question.
Yep.
Piggying on what William asked. I do have QuickBooks, and also the bank account that's for the business is connected to QuickBooks. So they're always communicating. So every purchase that I make, is categorized. But I have a funny situation, and I'm not embarrassed to tell you just because I'm new about this. Will be my second year in. Not to acupuncture, but to having my own business as acupuncturist. As an acupuncturist here in Grand Rapids.
Nice.
So it's going well, and up to very recently in Michigan. I moved here from Chicago. We could only have a sole proprietorship as acupuncturists with our own business.
Okay.
But as of like the last couple of weeks, we can actually be more than just a sole proprietorship. So we can have an LLC, which I need to get, understanding around that. But the question that I have is, as a sole proprietorship, I honestly don't even know how to pay myself. So a lot of the expenses that I have, you know, they're recorded and I'm careful to keep things separate. But
Yeah.
even like this is my second year, I don't actually know how to pay myself, which is such a basic thing, you know, but I don't know. So for now, it's just there's like this balance accumulating, which is good, but I'm like, I need to know what to do with that.
So then, okay, so let me make sure that I understand your question. Is it specifically related to you paying yourself and how to like record it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I don't know
Okay.
how to do that under sole proprietorship.
Can you, do you have an accountant that you work with?
I have an account only that does my taxes, but not that is an ongoing,
Mhm.
you know, bookkeeping accountant type thing.
So there's a couple different things that you can do. I only mention the accountant because perhaps they can help you make a decision on which way to go. But you can pay yourself almost like an employee, where you're building in gross and net pay, and you're doing an ACH into your personal account. You could set it up that way. The second way to do it is just as an owner's draw, and that would, you can categorize it that way in QuickBooks, so
Okay.
that when your accountant or your tax preparer is doing your taxes each year, they can complete the right schedule so that they'll see on the specific owner's draw line. I think it's, and you'll have to forgive me, I feel like it's on the first page, maybe line 14. It talks about owner's draw, and that
Okay.
shows the personal income that the owner um, was able to, you know, receive from the business. So
Okay.
whether which one would work the best for you, I'm going to defer to maybe an accountant or a CPA, but those are the couple ways that you can do that,
Okay.
because you'll want to start paying yourself eventually. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good, you know, these first 2 years it's been okay, but I know I need to formalize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. This is Bukela Hornsby.
Hi.
My question is related to the lady that just spoke, the acupuncturist. When I pay myself, I normally would write a check and pay myself in the business. But she's just mentioned something interesting. In fact, you did. You talked about owner's draw.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the money that I put into my business is equity?
Mm-hmm.
Can I withdraw equal amounts, or how do I do owner's draw as opposed to just paying me a check? And can I do both?
So, yep, owner's draw is just a term. So what you are doing, you know, when you said you're writing yourself a check, I mean, essentially that's what a draw is. You're drawing it from the business and you're using it for personal income. You mentioned, are you able to do both? I don't know the answer to that question. I would almost want to refer you to an accountant, because you can, I mean, you can be your own employee, and that's how you would pay yourself, like a payroll check essentially. I don't know if it would be feasible to do both, but I can't say that you can. I would probably refer you there. But you know, to circle back, the owner's draw is essentially what you're doing when you're writing yourself just a check from the business and depositing it into your bank account.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the difficulty I face is that I may not have a lot of money some
Mm-hmm.
month,
Mm-hmm.
then I have nothing, then I don't draw a check. Can I draw, do I have to draw the same amount, or can I draw more than in certain months where I'm making more money?
Yeah, you can draw whatever amount you want. It doesn't have to be a fixed amount. There are some individuals that only do a draw at a specific time when, you know, their business is profitable for a certain window, like for 3 or 6 months, and they feel comfortable drawing from the business. So it does not have to be a fixed amount.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask another question?
Oh, of course.
Now you explained bookkeeping.
Yep.
You explained these apps that are available, and you explained QuickBooks. Are you likely to have a class, a tutorial of some kind that that kind of introduces one into these methods, for example?
Sure. That's a good question. I know about what's available, and I have, obviously extensive knowledge with regard to the online banking, maybe enough to know my way around QuickBooks. So I'm definitely not the expert to have a class on this, but I know that there are some resources that are available, and that might be a good takeaway, to get you in touch with some resources that may have a class or two on some of these different options and which one might feel better for you, so that you're more, likely to use that, on a consistent basis. I think I may have seen a question in chat.
Yep, I was just going to mention that Karen put a note in there. So if people want to just open up that chat, and it just explains the difference between the salary method versus draw method,
Oh, good.
on
Okay.
different ways to pay yourself. So that's a really nice
Okay.
note in there for folks to just take a look at. And then we did have a question: what paperwork is needed when opening a business account? Came from Eve.
I can help with that. Okay. So depending on how, Eve, would you mind sharing how your business is structured? Are you sole proprietor, LLC, partnership?
I'm a LLC.
LLC, thank you. And is it just yourself? Are you single member?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Just me.
Okay. Thank you. So for LLC, the first thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to file your LLC with the state. So if we're talking Michigan, then you'll need to file your LLC with the state of Michigan. That can be done a couple different ways. You can hop online to the website, and you know what? Forgive me, I don't even know what LARA stands for, LARA, but it's with the state of Michigan. Maybe if we could pop that website into the chat, that would be helpful for Eve. There's some documents that you can download there. One of them would be the Articles of Organization. What you'll want to do is complete that, send that in. I believe there might be a fee associated with it, maybe like $50 or so, just depending on how quickly you want that turned around. And then the state will receive that information, register your business, make that information available online so that a bank could pull that information, and then they will mail to you your official registration document. So that would be one piece. That way your business is registered and your name is registered in the state. The second thing that you would want to do is to hop on the irs.gov website and apply for an employer identification number, or EIN. That's something that you can also do right online. Takes a few moments. After you finish completing the information and answering the questions that it has, you'll receive your EIN right there. You'll also receive a PDF, and then you can print out the document, the form SS4 that has your EIN listed there. And you would just need your own, unexpired ID. And with those documents, you'd be able to open a business account. So Articles of Organization, EIN, and the form is called SS4. So SAM4, form SS4. And then you would be, at the branch along with your unexpired ID.
I'm sorry. You
Thanks,
said
Rosie.
I just one more. You said the name of the form was, my internet is not good right now. You said
Okay.
the form was form. That's on the IRS website. That's what you said.
Yes. So,
Okay.
Yep, on the IRS website, you can either search and say SS-4, or if you go right to the website, in fact, I've got my computer up right now, so let me quickly go there for you. I have a feeling that you'll be able to, well, they used to have it right on the main page, but now everything got kicked out because now it's all about getting my stimulus payment. Hold on a sec. EIN. Yeah, if you type EIN right into the search engine at the irs.gov website, you'll click on a link that says apply for an EIN online. It's right in the middle of the page.
Okay, okay. But I have a EIN. So that EIN, that's called a SS4, the
It's
confirmation page that they give you.
the confirmation page is the SS4. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also just another note, Karen just dropped a link into the chat box. So if that's easier, Eve, for you just to click on that, that's there as well.
Oh, great.
And then let me check. Oh, we had one more question from Rebecca. If I already have an EIN as a sole proprietor, will I need to get a different one as a single member LLC?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because that EIN as a sole proprietor is attached to that DBA. So even though you're the same person and it's all the same business, in the world of the IRS, they're two completely separate entities. So you would just hop back online and do another EIN.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I got another question. So my business is real estate. Okay. I have a few apartments, but I want to go bigger. From your history, I'm sorry, I don't know. I didn't get your introduction in the beginning. I don't know if you're from an actual bank or not. But how much, I've never had a loan except to purchase my home. But as a business owner, how much would a bank likely lend me as a person? I have equity, I have property, but I don't have a history in my company. You get what I mean? So
I think I understand. So, but let me make sure I understand before I tackle that one. So your business being real estate, your question has to do with obtaining financing or a loan from a bank. And your concern has to do with, is it because of you being startup or is it because of the industry that you're in?
Oh, interesting. So maybe I'm thinking both.
Okay.
So let's say I wanted to purchase a bigger building than a commercial building or something like that, which will be way more than I've ever purchased before. And I do have property in my business, or maybe in my name because the business is new. But how much money would the bank actually loan me to purchase this bigger property? You know?
So when you're talking about purchasing property, and just to answer your question, yes, I'm in banking. So this is year 20. This is year 21 for me in banking. So thank you for that. I need to get a better feel for what you're asking so I can really target the right answer. You're in real estate. Is it to buy and sell property? Are you a property management company and you're looking to, have people rent from you?
Correct.
Or is it the second? Is
I'm
it
a property, a property owner. I buy big companies, buy buildings, and then they rent from me.
Okay. So
but I want to buy bigger.
Okay. All right. So your properties then wouldn't necessarily have your business in that piece of property. You would then purchase the property. It would be your business that owns that property. And then from there, you would lease to businesses that would then occupy space within that property.
Correct.
All right. I gotcha. Okay. So why don't we approach this answer a couple different ways? I want to approach it based on you being startup, and then I also want to approach it based on the industry that you're in, if that's okay.
Okay.
Let's start first with startup. So banks enjoy working with small businesses, startup businesses, just because banks understand the impact that small businesses make in economy. So banks are really good with working with small businesses and startup ones too. The key is going to be making sure that when you're ready for financing, a business owner has done the work to know that the business is going to sustain and be around for some time to pay the loan back. And then B, the business is currently or is projected realistically in a way to where it can make repayment. So there are some things that you'll want to do. And I kind of mentioned this at the beginning, but to answer that question, banks really do want to assist, and they do have tools and products specifically for a startup business. Whether it's, a loan, line of credit, micro loans that are available, which are smaller loan amounts. It tends to be where startup businesses may need a smaller amount just to kind of get started. So those are available. One area that you'll want to consider is the industry that you're in, okay? Your industry is really considered investment real estate. Have you heard that term before with regard to how you manage your business?
Oh, I didn't hear what you said. Which term?
Okay. Investment real estate?
Yes.
Okay. So with investment real estate, your business is truly one where you don't necessarily occupy what's inside your property. You lease it out to other businesses. So honestly speaking, as a banker right now, that tends to be a bit riskier, just because, if our economy historically has taught us anything, it's one to where when economies are really, really good, investments, real estate does well, as you're probably experiencing right now. But then as the economy starts to recede a bit, then the pressure is on in terms of like being able to make repayment, because a lot of the small businesses may or may not work out. And so if it doesn't work out, how are those payments going to be made? So those tend to be concerns that banks have. And as a result, you'll want to make sure that you find a bank that has the appetite for investment real estate. And there are a handful that are out there, but not all banks have an appetite to necessarily loan monies out to investment real estate just because of that additional risk that it carries.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Tamara, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you explain DBA? If I have an LLC, how many times can I DBA in that one LLC?
That's a really good question, because I don't know that I've ever known there to be a limit on the number of DBAs for LLC. I would almost feel compelled to Google that. But to explain a DBA, I mean, it's an acronym for doing business as, and that is either one person that's in business for themselves. They're one and the same. A really good example of a DBA is if, Tamara Jackson does business as Mary Kay, if I sell Mary Kay, or if I sell paparazzi or something like that. LLCs can also do business as other entities as well. So you want to, so when you have an LLC that does business as other businesses, it just depends on if you're wanting to either reserve a certain number of names, or B, if your LLC wants to have additional products and services too. I don't know that I have an answer on how many DBAs an LLC can have. That's never been approached to me.
I can answer that. I don't know that there's a limit, but a lot of people will do an umbrella organization as their LLC. And all you need to do for $25 on that same website that you're registering your business name, you file for a certificate of assumed name. And you might have like Benson Enterprises, and I might have Mary Kay, I might have Garden Glories or whatever, and I might have something else. As long as you're tracking that separately, they have separate set of books, and you're tracking each business separately. In the state's eyes, you're filing a certificate of assumed name. It's $25 to do that. And then you just have to keep those up every year, renew those, and keep those active or in good standing. And so I just wanted to say on a lot of what you're talking on, after today's webinar, feel free to reach out through Grow's website to get in touch with one of our business development officers and get those questions answered for you. We can get you to those resources. We have amazing Grow volunteers that can sit down at the appropriate time to talk through. And there are professional accountants, bankers, attorneys to just kind of think out loud with you. And Tammy is one of our amazing volunteers, our wonderful facilitators, but also has great knowledge. So I'm sure she'd be willing to answer those questions as well. But you've got a team of people, and if not Grow, other resources in the community that can walk alongside you as you go through these different phases of your business. So do know that, again, as Tammy said, don't do this alone. You've got a lot of great folks wanting to see you succeed.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Karen. That was a perfect segue to talk a little bit about what we have, what resources we have available here at Grow. And I think just the biggest takeaway that we can't emphasize enough is that as small business owners, you're not in this alone, and that we certainly have resources here and in our community that we'd be happy to make those connections to. While we're getting close to that hour mark, are there any other questions that we can answer right here in the next few minutes? It looks like we might be good for now. And so again, please don't hesitate to reach out to Grow. If you're already working with a business development officer, feel free to connect. And if anything from today's session maybe sparked a question or a further point of conversation, I know our BDOs would be happy to hear from you. And if you're new to Grow, check out our website, growbusiness.org, and we would be happy to connect with you that way as well. If there's no other questions or comments or anything like that, Tammy, as Karen just mentioned, thank you for being one of our fantastic volunteers and facilitators. Every time I talk to you, even on the phone or a quick chat, I just learned so much from you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to everyone else, thank you for giving us an hour of your time, and we hope you found it valuable. Thanks, everyone.